And to those of you here to present bills, explain that we have two subcommittees that are simultaneously going on, both the Ed Health Subcommittee on Public Ed and our own subcommittee on K-12. So people will be coming in. I see some are starting now, but I think it would be best for us to start. And the purpose of this committee meeting is to give members of the Senate who do not serve on this Senate Finance and Appropriations Committee the opportunity to speak to their member budget amendment requests. Committee staff will be sharing the budget amendments on the screens, and they can also be accessed from the state budget page. My predecessors always delighted in saying how many requests there were and how much the total amount of requests was, and I would hate to break with that tradition. So just so you know, there have been 759 Senate member amendments, and they total $18.8 billion. So although we appear flush with money, we are also flush with other needs for the Commonwealth. So we will be working very hard as a committee to go through these and select wisely what to fund. And this is your opportunity to explain to us the significance of your budget amendments. I do have a sign-up sheet, and first on it is Senator Reeves.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members of the committee, I just have a couple of budget amendments I'd like to cover. The first one being item 0, number 1S. This is part of the governor's initiative to try to help with military benefits, income tax subtraction, and let me just give you a little bit of history on how we got here. I've been here long enough to realize that trying to make us like Texas, Tennessee, and Florida, where we don't lose all of our veterans that come and get off active duty and try to save a bunch of those folks. We couldn't do it all in one nut, and I think this is kind of a compromise and a way to start ticking back at that. So the bill is really pretty simple. It starts with $20,000 of a tax subtraction in 2021, up to $30,000 in 22, and up to $40,000 in 23. While it's not everything and all complete, it is a way that we can start showing where we can show these folks that we're trying to make that effort in that direction. So there's a pretty hefty price tag with that. I know the governor has it on his introduced budget. I think it's a good mark forward for that. If I could bring the committee's attention to item 44, number 3S. This is at the request of the Rappahannock Veterans Docket. And several years ago, we got that program started, and I'm pleased to tell you that we have a 99.6% success rate. The problem we have, we made it a regional docket, but the problem we have too many veterans waiting in line to get into the docket, and we don't have enough resources now. And so when you look at the average cost it takes to incarcerate somebody, and I think the last time we looked in 2015, it was about $22,000. And based on inflation, we think it's anywhere between $22,000 and $30,000. And you look at the success rate that we've had of helping to rehabilitate these veterans, it's just a phenomenal program. And so at the request of Judge Regal and a lot of my prosecutors, because we take cases from Prince William, King George, Caroline County, Stafford County, the whole region in that area, and it's just been hugely successful. So it's not a big ask, it's $200,000, but that'll help us get a lot more veterans into the program and help with the mentor program. If I can bring the committee's attention to 403, number 3S. I think Eldon James is here or online. But this is a bill, quite frankly, we put, I think the last nut that we asked for was 23.1 for the Virginia State Police, and we took care of the sheriffs this last year. We totally left out local police. And so this is part of that 599 program where we got to go back and backfill and take care of our local police and do the same thing. So I won't elaborate more on that, but that's that bill. And then last but not least, and I want to thank Madam Chair for helping with this one. I have a language only to help Mary Washington University was one of the, I think there were only two, Tech and Mary Washington were left out of the budget when it came to capital improvements. So you'll see item C-75, number 5S. There's some language in there to help us with capital improvements for some of the structure at Mary Washington. Madam Chair, that's what I have.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, committee.
Senator Reeves. Senator Kiggins. I don't. Oh. It was here.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, I have a few budget amendments. The first five I'll do as a block. These are all related to aviation and the Virginia Space Grant Consortium. These first five are important just because of the aviation workforce shortfall that we're currently experiencing and will continue to experience. The Civil Aviation Organization reports a shortfall of training capacity equivalent to 160,000 pilots, 360,000 maintenance personnel, and 40,000 air traffic controllers between now and 2030. So aviation workforce development is important to the Commonwealth. So this first one is item 142, number 12S, and it's for the Virginia Space Grant Consortium. For its Pathways Flight Academies program, increases the number of students served from 20 to 40 and adds 5 hours of flight time to the current program offerings. So 5 more hours before these students can solo. So very important. Right now the requirement's 10. We need it to be at least 15. The second one is item 179-2S. And this amendment adds $337,200 to fund the development and operation of an online portal to serve as a clearinghouse for aviation and aerospace education and workforce programs statewide, and allows the Virginia Space Grant Consortium to better address student and parent queries and help connect users to program offerings. Right now, there's a lot of kind of scattered websites, so to have one portal would be very convenient. And then item 179, number 3S, also for the Virginia Space Grant Consortium. This ask for $340,000 includes an online course for the fundamentals of aviation, which will be available both for dual enrollment or for career and technical education credit for high-performing students, and then they'll participate in a 1-week residential summer academy for aviation. And then item 179, number 4S, also for Virginia Space Grant Consortium, $264,000 to fund the targeted recruitment of industry companies and interns to participate in the Virginia Space Grant Consortium's Commonwealth STEM Industry Internship Program, and also supports sponsored programs for high-need fields targeting certifications as well as 2- and 4-year degree programs. And then the last for the Virginia Space Grant Consortium, item 179, number 5S, $168,000 to expand programming for high school students offered by the Virginia Space Grant Consortium. Funding adds 2 summer sessions for high school students to have 3-day introductory residential college experiences, while participating in immersive experiences to learn about aviation and the principles of flight at no cost to participants. And they have a lot of great programs that I've been able to participate in and go to award ceremonies and whatnot. Just a great organization that I hope we can help. My next budget ask is item 295, number 7S, and this is for the Hispanic Resource Center of Coastal Virginia. It's a $100,000 ask to assist with advancing the socioeconomic conditions of the Hispanic and Latinx community in Coastal Virginia. These guys provide education, training, support services, leadership development, business development, and advocacy to a population already disadvantaged and marginalized, and receiving accurate and timely information about health concerns, community resources, and information, often because of language, barrier access, and socioeconomic factors. The Hispanic Resource Center of Coastal Virginia was instrumental in a lot of the COVID testing and the vaccine distribution sites that we had in the Tidewater and Hampton Roads region. So that is an ask for them. Item 312, number 10S, is for Virginia Beach Psychiatric Center, and this is for a pilot program. It's one-time funding for a pilot program for a chemically dependent intensive outpatient program at the Virginia Beach Psych Center in an outpatient setting, hoping to serve up to 300 individuals who are chemically dependent. The next ask for the Virginia Beach Psych Center is item 312, number 11S, $165,000, again for mental health intensive outpatient program, just for acute care and for behavioral health in an outpatient setting, hopeful again to support up to 300 individuals annually. And the last ask is item 312, number 12S. This is for the Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Services. It's a $50 million ask, but this bridges a funding gap, and it's for first-line community-based mental health providers. It includes both private and public mental health providers. It's a competitive grant program managed by DBHDS for private and public mental health providers. It's important just to provide that type of mental health care in an outpatient setting so that we, again, don't have to use inpatient setting. And I don't think I need to go into just the importance of mental health funding and how marginalized those guys are. We need to devote more funding to mental health care in general. But thank you very much for your
Thank you,
consideration.
Senator Kiggins. Senator Peak.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And if we could start with the Virginia University of Lynchburg, item 142, number 6. Is that?
They'll bring it up for you.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. And so I want to start with this one because the Governor Northam on his way out in his budget had unprecedented funding for the state's HBCUs. And these included Virginia Union University, Hampton University, and then the private, they're private, along with the public schools, Virginia State and Norfolk State. And Virginia University of Lynchburg, a historically black college university located, it's Virginia University of Lynchburg, in Lynchburg, has taught over the years a number of pastor school and for divinity school. They were told that they were not eligible for the funds under the governor's budget. And they were told kind of off the record by someone that they had spoken to with the Northam administration that the reason was that they were not included was because they did not award Pell Grants. And that is not accurate. And so their understanding is that that is why. And I'm not positive, and we're going to track that down. But if that were the case, because they did not award Pell Grants, that is not accurate. They've awarded in 2018 and 2019 $1,162,000, in 2019, 2020, $1,075,000, and in 2020, 2021, $638,000. And also, they were left out of the GEAR funds that were COVID-related federal funds. So it's a great institution in the city of Lynchburg. They do a great job of training pastors and providing education, and we would love to make sure that they were able to get some funding through the HBCU funding. And Senator Newman's well aware of them as well. And then if we could move to number 98, number 1, Sweetbriar Community College Program, and I believe, I know Senator Peterson's well aware of this. I believe Senator Howe may be aware of this as well. They've got a great program where they are trying to expand women in agriculture. And so they're really focused on that. And they've told me the percentages are like 30 here to 27% or 30% of females in agriculture, up to 50, and they're not getting the support and training that they deserve and that we can provide, and that this budget amendment would help their program at Sweetbriar expand females in agriculture.
Senator Peterson.
Thank you, Senator Peterson. And then my final one is item 72, number 3S. This involves the Piedmont Regional Jail. And this goes back approximately 30 years where somehow the Piedmont Regional Jail got some money, which took them, and Senator Ruff, he is very familiar with what happened at the time, represented him at the time. But that something that was done approximately 30 years ago kept them out of general fund funding. And they have now fallen way behind. They do not have funding for adequate staff. And this budget amendment would bring them up to date with the compensation board for the number of staff that they need. And they've lost a federal exemption for something they did 30-some years ago, and we need to correct it. But this budget amendment would help bring them whole. They need an additional 40 corrections officers and at the Piedmont Jail, and they need to bring it up to 72 at some point. So this funding is for that, and I will get information out to everyone outlining all those details, but I know Senator Ruff's very familiar with it as well. And that is all I had.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam
Thank you.
Chair.
Senator DeStaff.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of
Good
the committee.
afternoon.
I have three pretty simple and easy ones.
Those are the best.
There we go. The first one is school resources officers, and the intent is to cover the local match required by Section 9.1, 110 of the Code of Virginia for schools that do not currently have school resource officers. So this way, the localities won't say we've put another unfunded mandate on their plate. The second one is the Achievable Dream, Virginia Beach. This amendment provides $500,000 general fund each year to assist the Achievable Dream, Virginia Beach. They'll use these funds to prioritize college access for its seniors. And then lastly, we have the Special Olympics of Virginia. The amendment provides $150,000 each year from the general fund for Special Olympics to re-engage schools in the Unified Championship Schools Initiative, intentionally promoting meaningful social inclusion by bringing together students with and without intellectual disabilities through inclusive sports, inclusive youth leadership, and school-wide engagement. That's all I have. Thank you for your time.
Madam Chair, are we asking questions or not at all?
Prefer not.
Okay, thank you.
Happy to answer them afterwards if you'd like.
Senator Lewis.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, I've got five fairly straightforward ones, and I'll just touch on most of them just briefly. If we could start off with 3-1.01, number 3S. And that's a very simple, straightforward. When we established the Waterway Maintenance Fund a few years ago, it has been a tremendous success. It is consistently oversubscribed, and this will bump up the transfer amount to the fund. And again, it's very, very meaningful to our coastal communities who are having their valuable lifelines fill in and become impassable. Next one is 39, number 2S. This is one that came to me as a practical matter from somebody who's involved regularly in the judicial system and brought to my attention that the juror fee has not been changed for decades. And it is currently $30 a day. And so you can imagine, particularly in poor areas, economically stressed areas, if you are in a 2 or 3 day jury trial as a juror and you're getting $30 a day, you're taking it on the chin. So the problem with this is, I've worked with finance staff, it's a little difficult to get our arms around the precise amount. But in any event, an additional $1 million towards that, and now I have a bill in to change the code in that regard too. An additional $1 million would at least be a step in the right direction on that. 347, number 10S, is just a straight line appropriation to a non-governmental agency, the Eastern Shore Coalition Against Domestic Violence. And there's supporting materials in there for that. These folks have done a great job in cobbling together some money for an entirely new campus. They serve 2 counties and a large number of folks, and the only domestic violence shelter in the 2 counties. And they're about a little short in their fundraising, and this would be a big shot in the arm for them in regards to the roof project. And I think this is the last. No, there's one smaller one. Item number 38, 1S, is a new staffing position, additional staffing position at the Virginia Marine Resources Commission. We've made a significant investment in oyster restoration in the last few years. One of the problems that they've run into is they don't have the manpower to follow up, manage, evaluate that investment and the successes that we're enjoying. And so that's what this new position would do. And then finally, this is a recommendation of the Bay Commission, Chesapeake Bay Commission, on which I serve, and it is the establishment of a community flood preparedness, I'm sorry, not a community flood preparedness fund, a revolving loan fund, resilience revolving loan fund. We have a bill in to establish that, and there's one on the House side as well. This is not a replacement for the community flood preparedness fund, but it is a complement to it, and it requires a one-time $25 million appropriation thereafter. It is a revolving loan fund, so it will be self-perpetuating after that. This is geared more, while communities are available, it's available to communities too. It's used primarily for gap issues gap financing projects that have not gotten 100% of their costs affiliated and also directly to homeowners as well. So they are my budget amendments, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Surville.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Committee, I have two that I'm going to strike and then go through the others here. So the first one, number 61S on my list, is a joint study resolution I put in to do an autopsy of the state pandemic response. It's basically bringing everybody together to look at what happened, what we did, what we didn't do, what we need to change, what we need to do better, things we need to keep, things we need to get rid of. We need to look at power between the executive branch, the legislature, that kind of thing. I've talked to some people who say that we're going to need a first-class group to come in and help us with that, and we can't be cheap on it, or else we're going to get a bad product. So that's what number 1S is. The second one, number 2S, 62S. That is an amendment that would give a 6% across-the-board pay increase to all of our attorneys at DLS. I think all of us know the problems we've had with retention of employees at DLS, and our staff attorneys there. It would raise the starting salary and give everybody a raise, and hopefully help us keep our excellent DLS staff so we have less turnover. And I believe it was co-sponsored by 38 members of the Senate. The next one, 39.3S, relates to some tweaks of the automatic sealing and expungement bill I passed last year. I have another bill I'm putting in this session to clean some stuff up. It's a 4-year process to get our computers up to speed on that. There's a pending procurement, and the sooner we make those changes, the cheaper it will be in the long term to make changes to our contract. And so that's just an estimate of the costs, and we'll get clearer numbers in the next week or two, but that's what that's about. Madam Chairman, the next one, the Crime Commission expansion, I'd like to strike that one. And then the campaign finance one, I'm going to strike that one. The next one, number 117.1S, that's a bill that was requested by the city of Alexandria that I'm introducing tomorrow. But it's basically a study because of what happened in Florida with the condo collapse to make sure that our multifamily large-story building inspection system is adequate, and also that our incentives for condo associations to make their investments in their buildings is adequate. The Department of Housing and Community Development is probably going to need some outside help to do a proper study on that. There's a lot of different aspects you have to look at to make sure we're doing our building inspections correctly, and there's a lot of insurance issues, liability issues, other things that have to be looked at to come out with good recommendations. 168.1S was requested by JMU to enhance their Pell Grant funding, so it's for more Pell spots at JMU. JMU has, I think, right now, appreciate that, Senator Norman, but we're just trying to keep up with William and Mary. VMI too, okay. 347.2S, Good Shepherd, we gave Good Shepherd Housing $200,000 of TANF money last year to help families transition from transitional housing into stable housing. For some reason, the governor cut future funding for that out of his budget. We're not familiar with. This just restores that. 365.1S is for a paid sick leave bill I have, which would only mandate sick leave for healthcare workers and grocery store workers. And I think Doley or somebody, Employment Commission, said they thought they would need this for enforcement costs. And then
I'm sorry, for what enforcement?
Enforcement costs or staff to oversee the enforcement or something like that, I think. So the next one, 377.2S, is a bill that's in front of the Ag Committee right now. The Department of Environmental Quality convened a work group with the landfill industry to assess how much fee increases it would take to completely fund the DEQ solid waste landfill program solely through user fees. The industry is in agreement with these fee increases. I think it would generate an additional $3.9 million of general fund money by having the users fund the program. And this language just makes the bill align with the budget. And the bill is pending in front of the Ag Committee right now. But it was a process that took place over the last 12 months. Then 461S is a bill that I'm still working on, trying to make good. I'm not going to get into that here. The next three are all ARPA amendments. 4S would connect the Poic Bay Regional Park to public water. Right now, they water their golf course using water coming out of the Eastern Groundwater Management Area, which we're trying to stop. We're trying to use that for drinking water and not for watering grass. And this would be covered by ARPA. 40865S, that's a big one. But the state of Michigan took $300 million of ARPA money to pay off their entire state park maintenance backlog. And I know I've talked to Madam Chairman and others on the committee about us doing that. I know the House had some hostility to it last year. I'm hopeful the new leadership in the House will be more open to that. But we can use that ARPA money to buy down our state park maintenance backlog, which I think we need to do with one-time money while we can. The next one is $5.4 million, and that is to create, to fund water and sewer infrastructure at probably about half a dozen, maybe up to 10 high schools in Fairfax County that don't have permanent bathrooms at their outdoor recreational facilities, many of which are in my district, Senator Barker's district, Senator Peterson's district, where parents are having to use Don's Johns, and the county would pay for the actual, the school board would pay for the actual buildings and the other stuff, but this just would allow ARPA money to pay for the water and sewer lines. And then the last one is just solely language. Senator Locke and I are working on a bill to take some of the 529 surplus that Jay Lark is looking at right now, and this is just language that would direct Jay Lark to include our policy proposal as part of their study. And then the last one, Madam Chairman, which is one I've put in, I think, 4 years in a row now, is to fund phases 2 and 3 of Widewater State Park, which used to be our newest state park. Now it's our second newest state park. But they have 3 phases of capital improvements there. The last 2, there's no funding for, and I often hear we need to take care of our backlog before we get to new stuff. So hopefully you'll take my other amendment, take care of the backlog, and then we'll take this and build the new stuff, because there's no public water access in Stafford County, and that's why Lee Sylvania State Park is just getting killed. They have to actually close the gate at Lee Sylvania State Park because so many boaters come and they can't fit any more trailers or people in the park. And if we get Widewater built out, it would eliminate some of that demand, and our state parks wouldn't be so stressed. So I would, and it's not going to be in my district much longer, but I hope to get this done while it's still in my district. Thank you.
Thank you.
I endorse that proposal.
Senator Mason.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to jump around. I apologize to the team, but I'm trying to put them together. First one is 284, number 3S. Last year, we passed a state kinship program to try to give some money to relatives and families. They've just promulgated the regulations, so we don't have any yet. This will actually fund the program for the next 2 years and allow us to continue to do it. 345, number 3S, these next few come with the Family First effort. 345, number 3S, is a stipend program to try to, help people with education so we get them trained to do the work that we need them to do for us to hire them, which is 342, number 1S. We actually lowered the dollar amount on the first year of this because we've only been able to hire about 70% of the in-home workers that we approved last year because we have a workforce problem and we're trying to find people to do the job. That's Family First and prevention. That's the key. Remember, the key of Family First is for the first time ever, we can pay for prevention services for children that we believe could be headed towards foster care. This is trying to keep them out of it. And then 206, number 4S, is also Family First. This is an interesting one. The last administration talked all the time about setting up this Center for Evidence-Based Partnerships in Virginia. What we need are evidence-based programs that qualify for the federal Family First money. This institute at VCU is designed to help us coordinate and set them up. They talked about it endlessly, and then it didn't make it in the budget. So I thought I'd at least point out that, we talk a lot about evidence-based programs. We need to stand up a bunch of them for Family First. This was a group designed to help us do it. Then there are 2 that came out of the Commission on Youth, number 345, number 11S. There's an internet portal that allows kids to download and to go on their phone and to see what services are available for people in foster care or those aging out. This just will facilitate us going to the localities and loading in services to the portal so that students so that the folks in James City County will know what's available to them around them and then elsewhere. The last Commission on Youth request is 212, number 4S. This is crucial because we have an incredible Great Expectations program. This just allows, it's $500,000 to put to the programs across our community college systems. This is designed to help students that have been or are still in foster care and help them along. Ours on the peninsula is staffed by a young man who almost fell out of foster care, went to the community college, then graduated from William and Mary. Now he works in and helps run the Great Expectations program. Number 304, number 43S, is essentially the rate and reimbursement study that is needed for Project Bravo. I mean, this is the next step for Project Bravo that got left out of the behavioral health budget. And so this is $150,000 a year to conduct a study to look through across the board what we're paying for a lot of these programs, which generally isn't enough. Item number 332, number 3S, this is a request by DARS. We currently have a program for benefits to seniors at 11 farmers markets out of the 25 agencies on aging. This money would expand it to all agencies on aging, that seniors that are food insecure can use SNAP benefits or can go to the agency, to the AAAs, and get money to buy at the farmers market healthy foods. Number 330, number 5S is another. We all have done really great work on traumatic brain injury recently and putting some money towards it. Our new case manager on the peninsula was full in 6 months. This expands to the Middle Peninsula Northern Neck and the Shenandoah Valley. So it's 2 positions that would expand, and again, they can take about 40, 50 people max. 195, number 2S, is this is Weldon Cooper Center with all of the COVID adjustments for K through 12 and trying to figure out how many students did we lose, where'd they go, how many students are coming back. We're requesting them to do the work. This is the funding so they can actually do it over the next 2 years. 160, number 1S, I wouldn't be a homer if I didn't mention something out of William and Mary or VIMS. And this is, we ask them to do projects for us all the time, so they put equipment and computers and systems in place, and then they have to keep them, and they have to do service contracts on them, or the companies that service them won't mess with them anymore. And finally, an oldie but a goodie, number 468, number 1S. We've talked about the gate at Fort Eustis for a number of years now. It's a Homeland Security problem. They built an apartment complex right next to it. We need to move the gate up towards Grove in James City County. The good news is, Madam Chair, the number keeps going down. I don't think that'll happen again, though. But this is designed to help Newport News acquire the property so we can move the darn gate and be compliant. I, too, have a few to strike, but I'm going to try to beat you to do that, and I'll send a list in for before you do it for me. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Senator Mason. Senator Hackworth.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The first one I have is item number 183, 1S, and that is for Radford University operating support. It adds $7.6 million for the to provide an additional allocation of $1,000 per in-state full-time enrollment and ongoing operating support for Radford University, with the intent of mitigating the need for the university to increase tuition and fees over the biennium. And the other ones are all linked together. So item C-25.1, number 2S. And this is for the city of Roanoke, the biotech lab workspace. And this provides $12.7 million for the first year for the renovation of an existing facility in Roanoke to create labs and startup space for biotech companies. We had our Senate Finance retreat there in the city of Roanoke, and many of you probably got to tour maybe the Fralin Biomedical Center, and this is part of an expansion of that medical community there in the city of Roanoke, doing a fabulous job there. And then we have item 215, number 8S. And this is for $745,000. And this amendment proposal represents a partnership between Virginia Tech Corporate Research Center And the City of Roanoke, the Virginia Western Community College, Roanoke Blacksburg Technical Council, and other key entities in the region. And this amendment has corresponding capital one-time funding amendments. And then the last one is the item number 223, number 3S, also corresponding with this project for the biotech project in the city of Roanoke. And it is $2.3 million for the first year to support the equipment needs of the proposed Roanoke Biotech project. This proposal represents a partnership between Virginia Tech Corporate Research Center, the Western Community College, City of Roanoke, Roanoke Blacksburg Technology Council, and other key entities in this region. And this is has corresponding capital and one-time funding amendments. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Senator Morrissey.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. The first item on the agenda is item 380, number 2S, the Petersburg Poor Creek wastewater upgrades. It's a large item, $16,760,000. You may recall from last year the much ballyhooed unveiling of this Petersburg Pharmaceutical Park. It is hailed as the pharmaceutical ingredient capital of the United States. Three major companies, Flow Corporation, Ampac Fine Chemicals, and Civica, have invested heavily along with a huge amount of HHS funding. The part of the growth of this world-class cluster of pharmaceuticals, which makes ingredients to address certain medicines that in turn address the health crisis like COVID-19, we need this water grade upgrade, and an additional $458 million of U.S. HHS funding is dependent upon this water grade upgrade. Second one is 380, number 3S. It's a $3.3 million request for the water tower upgrade on the same Petersburg Poor Creek project. Madam Chair, the next item is 115, number 7S. This is a request for $2.6 million to demolish the old Ramada Inn property that you will see if you drive south on 95. It looks like war-torn Ukraine, or it's a dilapidated building that has stood there for 10 years. It is a horrible gateway to the city of Petersburg. The next item is item 51, number 3S, and it is a $3.3 million allocation to establish a public defender office in Henrico County. Last year, we established the 28th public defender office in the Commonwealth in Chesterfield County. This one establishes it in Henrico County. Item 240, number 3S, is for the Petersburg Library Education Center, a request for $500,000. The entire project was $2.5 million. They funded in a fundraising several rallies in Petersburg, and they came up with $2 million. It has been built. The $500,000 is the cost to pay for the completion of the project. It's a wonderful education center that is already widely used by Petersburg. Item 115, number 8S. There's the Petersburg Blighted Property Loan Program, $3 million request it's a revolving loan program for the rehabilitation of derelict structures. The next item, 311, number 9S, is a $68,000 request. This bill, as you remember, Madam Chair, passed unanimously in the Education and Health in 2021, but it died in the House because the DBHDS was late in putting in this fiscal impact. Item 386, number 4S, is a $100,000 request for Weston Manor. For those that boat on the James and the iconic Appomattox River, you'll see the Weston Manor. It's a 250-year-old structure in Hopewell. This will create a welcome center. Item 43-1, number 1S, is a request for $523,732 for salary increases for the Virginia State Police entry-level civilian employees. We have recently did a $25 million increase for state troopers, bonuses. We did not fund civilian employees. I recently visited the facility. There are a number of people that have been there for many, many years are earning $13 and $14 an hour. These senior folk, mostly women, and I say that senior folk respectfully, don't want to go anywhere else, but they could go to Chick-fil-A and make $22 an hour. They're making $13 an hour there, but they like working for the Virginia State Police. They want to stay there. The second 431, number 2S, is a similar request for all civilian employees at the Virginia State Police. Going further, item 136, number 14S, is for the Chesterfield County Recovery High School. Madam Chair, you may recall that you stated that you had supported the state budget amendment in 2020, but the money was removed by the governor for COVID-19 relief. We're coming back and asking that that be funded. The next request is for $1.9 million, the Central International College campus. This is to provide the Central International College campus, a private, historically black college in Chester, Virginia, with funding to purchase and renovate certain buildings, to renovate certain buildings on its campus, as well as to purchase contiguous land. The next item, 403, number 1S, is a request that I'm putting in because last year a bill passed Senate Judiciary to end solitary confinement, also known as restorative housing. And it passed the Senate, Judiciary, and full Senate. And then when it went over to the House, they said it was a $32 million expense. You may recall that I said last year that how do you end a program and that cost you $32 million? That $32 million, when they appeared before the Senate Judiciary, there was no mention of any fiscal impact. But when it went over to the House, $32 million to end the program. The request is self-explanatory. The next item is 72, number 4S. It's the funding for the jail profiteering bill, Senate Bill 581, that I have or will be introducing. Next item is 114, number 7S. It's a $13,500,000 allocation for the redevelopment of the Creighton Court Public Housing Project in the city of Richmond. The next item, 470, number 3S, is the funding for the Petersburg Freedom Support Center. The Petersburg Freedom Support Center provides services for veterans. It provides AMVETS, claim filing. It provides a benefits and claim filing for Association for Wounded Veterans. It provides assistance for the Disabled American Veterans Chapter, transportation to and from the Freedom Center, and it also helps support counseling, mental health services for the Wounded Warrior Program. Item 471, number 3S, the last item is a $2.5 million request for the Department of Veteran Services. This will provide funds for the Fort Lee Museum Enclave to support an entryway connecting all 4 museums on Fort Lee: the U.S. Army Quartermaster Museum, the U.S. Army Women's Museum, the U.S. Army Ordnance Training and Heritage Center, and the U.S. Army Transportation Museum. It's a number of amendments. I thank you for your attention and your time.
The next, I believe, 5 actually now, we're not on the sign-up sheet, so I tried to write you down in the order I saw you, and I hope I've got it right, but if I don't, I'm sorry. First is Senator McPike.
I believe Boyce goes next, or she came before me, if you want to yield to her.
Okay, well, she's
All right.
saying, you go.
All
and
right,
then
I
she
just want to
can
be
go.
courteous.
Yeah, I had
I
her
will,
second.
Madam Chair, thank you for the time. I will be very brief. And if staff could just keep it on the mastery summary screen, that would be helpful, just so I can go through an overall narrative. That way it'll make it a little bit quicker for us. You'll see many different items I put in here for the Virginia Employment Commission Omnibus Reform Bill and the JLARC recommendations. There's about 6 to 8 items in relation to that. Additionally, there's a line for the JLARC recommendations on the guardianship reform bill as well. To highlight a couple of different elements, I did want to identify a submission for $5 million. We had a good discussion at our Southwest Finance Retreat on talent acquisition. So reviewing the budget, I want to make sure to highlight that I think we had a robust and I think productive discussion around potential programs there. Additionally, 1% of the total investment for broadband expansion is designated for a similar program we funded last year for satellite-based internet service. While the rest of the infrastructure is built out, there's still an important need for education and telemedicine and extraordinarily hard to reach in planning districts 1 and 2 in Southwest Virginia. And let's see, wanted to highlight for you also Fairfax County Vocational Welcome Center, much like Prince William. That's a very successful program, doing outreach to communities and building workforce development and important programs there. And finally, Madam Chair, to highlight the last item, $2.5 million. This is contingent. This is for the expansion of border tracts for Conway Robinson State Forest. This is our first state forest in the Commonwealth. Right now, it's 440 acres. And it is wedged almost to the edge of the Manassas battlefield. But there are tracks in between that right now there's some development that's being discussed in Prince William that's a little bit controversial. But if it moves forward, I want to make sure that the state's in a position to accept and sort of multiply the expansion of that important state forest, essentially make a connection to the Manassas battlefield. And if there's some important historic and natural resources between those tracks, this is an amendment that would help to make that logical connection if development does move forward in Prince William County. So it does provide sort of a buffer. And it would be the hope to expand that state forest, Madam Chair. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Senator Boyska.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a number of budget amendments that I'm not going to go over all of them, but the ones that are, I think, really sorely needed and long-standing challenges, I'll start off with. We know our sheriffs have a 1 to 1,500 ratio, and they have not been funded because of shortfalls in prior revenue shortfalls since 2008. In fiscal year 23, the actual funded ratio for law enforcement to population statewide is 1.1613, with variances on this average up to 1.236 in Loudoun County. Loudoun County is way underfunded. I have a budget amendment that would bring us whole, and it would be, as you can see, $11.5 million. I have John Jones here, who is very eager to see this happen, as Katie Boyle is as well. And so that is one. A second one revolving around compensation. I've been serving as the co-chair of the Joint Committee on Studying Staffing Levels, Employment Conditions, and Compensations at the Department of Corrections this year. I've been now to 2 of the facilities. One of them is in dire straits. It is no longer just an inconvenience, but it's actually in an emergency situation. I'm asking, I know that Governor Northam in his outgoing budget put a very significant budget allocation for the officers, the correctional officers, but nobody has put one in for the I guess what you would call it, just the other staff positions, such as our counselors, kitchen workers, healthcare providers, and the like. And so I have asked for a 5% raise for them. I understand that Senator Edwards will be supporting something around the parole officers as well. Again, I will just say that it is dire straits in our facilities, and we need to make sure that we're making them whole. These are people who live in rural areas. We want to make sure that, those folks, some of them have to get up if they have a day off, just to give you an example, if they have a day off, the officers are still required to wake up at 4 a.m, call in to see if they're needed, and then if they are, they may have to drive an hour or more to get to work. And they're not getting days off, they're being drafted in at unreasonable amounts, and they still are short-staffed. So I urge the body to support them. The last one that I'm going to talk about is a bill that we are working with Senator Warner's office on for a digital affordability plan. Senator Chad Peterson will be carrying the bill. It would be we would be working to harness the $14 billion affordability connectivity program from the Federal Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act to support a permanent $30 broadband supplement that could go towards our low-income houses. That would work in concert with the providers, their subsidy programs as well. And that is, we are asking for $1 million and $5 million, total $6 million this year and next year. The $5 million is non-general funds, the $1 million is the one. And I also have one budget amendment that would set up a women's studies program. I've been working with a group of teachers and students who are really hoping that we can see this happen next year. My understanding is that it doesn't need legislation, but just some money to have the agencies to create that. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Senator Suderline, I didn't even see you. I still don't even see you. Okay. And I will call you next because you may have been there quite a long time.
Thank you. The good thing about calling a fiscal conservative is I don't have a whole lot of projects to ask about. But the one that I want to highlight that's incredibly important for our region that you're also going to hear from Senator Edwards, and you also have already heard from Senator Hackworth, and these are the 3 amendments related to the Roanoke Biotech project. You see that it's a joint partnership between the Virginia Tech Corporate Research Center and Virginia Western, and there's 3 separate amendments there that are all related to the same project, which you all are familiar with, the Fralin Biomedical Center. The Commonwealth has
Madam Chair,
invested so much into it.
are these the same amendments Hackworth had, or
Yeah.
same numbers?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep, and that's the only thing that I want to emphasize today. But you see that's why I was willing to wait here, because it's that important to us. And I hope you'll hear it 3 separate times. I hope all 3 of them go through. And but what this is so important for is furthering the Commonwealth's investment in what was already, this is one-time money, into our previous one-time money regarding the biomedical center's creation to begin with. The Fralin Foundation has made a substantial charitable investment. The city continues to, and Virginia Tech does as well. So this is something you're going to hear consistently from our delegation, and we hope it will be your pleasure to support it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. What I have is Senator Hashmi, then Bell, then Favola. Is there anybody else hiding behind a post somewhere that I can't see? I did say Senator Bill. Okay, good. Thank you,
There's nobody
Senator.
there. Well, thank you, Madam Chair, and I only have 569 budget amendments to go through, so I appreciate your patience. I will not do all of them. But I do want to share some of the budget amendments that are coming from the Joint Commission on Healthcare. The first one is item 212, number 5S. And this is to address the need of our nursing shortage and by expanding nursing education programming that's available through the VCCS. And this particular amendment seeks to support the VCCS programs by providing increased full-time nursing faculty salaries, as well as purchasing new teaching and training equipment and making other necessary laboratory classroom renovations. This is sorely needed by the VCCS. Their programs can help to serve so many students and increase the number of nurses that we would be able to supply to our nursing home long-term care facilities. Similarly, item 287, number 2S, is addressing long-term care nursing through providing scholarships. And this amendment provides $64,000 from the general fund each year to fund scholarships for students who are committed to working in certified nursing facilities as well as nursing homes. And the funding would support 32 nursing students each year. And again, this is hoping to address that critical crisis that we are facing in our long-term facilities. And then finally, from the JCHC is a language-only tax credit, family caregiver tax credit program. It is to create a non-refundable tax credit for family caregivers so that we are able to support family members who are helping take care of their own individuals within their home. Item 114-2S, this is the Restorative Home Ownership Pilot Program that we would hope to establish here in the city of Richmond. This Restorative Home Ownership Pilot Program is providing funding to address the long history of housing discrimination, particularly in this area. Our home, as it is known, would be piloted in the Richmond metropolitan area, where we have clear documentation of redlining, the destruction of all or part of neighborhoods, in the name of urban renewal, and also provide funding for clear data on foreclosures and mortgage denials in largely predominantly minority communities. It seeks to remedy the harms done by past racist home ownership policies, and we hope that this would receive a favorable support by the committee. Item 129, number 5S, is coming to us from the Department of Education. It is to establish a school library specialist, and this position would be responsible for providing leadership and technical assistance, supporting student learning, and also serving as a consultant through the VDOE by helping other school divisions across Virginia who do not have district-level school library supervisors. So this is an important position for our VDOE programs. Item number 304, item 304, number 33S is Medicaid reimbursement for the Virginia Home Nursing Facility. And this is, again, to add $2.6 million from the general fund, as well as $3.3 million from federal Medicaid matching funds to create a new peer group with criteria only met by the Virginia Home, which is a unique nursing facility that cares for individuals suffering from traumatic brain injury, MS, paraplegia, or cerebral palsy, and 90% of whom are Medicaid recipients. So this is to further support the efforts there. And item 304, number 35S, is seeking a Medicaid rate increase for neonatology services, and it is to increase the Medicaid rates provided for neonatology services by 15%. Presently, we are at 65% of the rates provided by Medicare, and these rates have not increased since 2006. So a 15% increase would help to ensure that Medicaid rates are adjusted to the rising healthcare cost, and ensure also that Medicaid recipients have access to quality neonatology services. Item 486, number 12S, is lead water service line replacement. This amendment is providing $1 million each year to the VDH for the continued support for the replacement of lead drinking water service lines on residential properties in the city of Richmond, again, addressing those critical aging infrastructure that causes severe health hazards. And I will save the rest 480 pieces for a later time. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, next is Senator Bell.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. First one I have is actually we had talked about it last year. It's item 149, number 1S. And we were not able to get to it last year. One of my other jobs, I chair the Board of Visitors for this Virginia School of the Deaf and Blind. Mm-hmm. And they have a really terrible IT system there. And just this is one of the more important things I wanted to go into. They're under the VITA program. I don't think they should be, and I've got legislation this year to take them out of that. Senator Hanger chaired it before me, and he shared the same frustration with me because unfortunately, where they're located at and with their special needs, they're just not getting this accommodated. The children stay there Monday through Friday. And right now, if two parents try to do any kind of video calls with their children, and if they're signing for a deaf child that needs to be a video call, the system crashes. So that's really the situation they're in, and I would ask that we fund that, please. I will tell you, I don't want to disparage agencies, but often with where they're buried now in an agency, they unfortunately don't always get people pushing for them to get money. So that's why I went about it this route. I'm not going to cover the things that I've got a lot of placeholders in there. Some have come back with zero. Some haven't. I doubt that they will come back with fiscal impact. They were just there to cover us just in case. One I am going to mention, though, that I'm going to try to see if we can't negotiate on is I did one on the boiler certifications. This one we've worked on a couple years. It passed last year. And due to COVID, we weren't able to go forward. This is item 369 1S. And I'm going to find my 2021 session coupon because last year it had no fiscal impact. Now they're saying they need an FTE and money. So I don't know what's changed over the last year, but that makes no sense to me. When it was nothing last year, now it's money. Item 115, number 2S, this one, Senator McClellan actually has legislation related to this to fix it. If her legislation goes through, mine is not needed. It will be a duplication. Back to the Virginia School of the Deaf and Blind, item 139, 1S. This may be, I know, Madam Chair, you talked about doing some efforts to have pay increases for state employees. That would cover this need. The only reason I mention it here, this is a very small school, and again, it's a residential school. They have resident advisors. They have cleaning services that are very special since the students stay there, and then they prepare meals. They actually have positions right now that are advertised, and they're competing against local hotels and restaurants, and they've been open for 13 months. So they are just not paying what the market price is. And I've asked them, hey, what do you do when you can't hire people? And what they've done so far is pretty much get all the staff to pick up the slack. It's at the point of breaking. Those staff members who are hired to be teachers or other things are just going to quit because they're not going to continue to do this forever. So I'm sure you hear from everyone. They're a special case. I would argue this is one of the true special cases. Item 312, number 9S. This is funding for the Virginia Association of Recovery Residences. I thank the committee and everyone for the funding we've had for recovery. My other job outside of here is I chair the Substance Abuse Council. The council passed a resolution supporting this. We were able to get, I think, $500K last time, and then we had $10 million of some of the federal money. We've had an unprecedented amount of access. And frankly, I think now, I will share this with you, I think one of the things we have to work for now is making sure everyone in the area recoverance is they're audited and we have good protection, because as we have money stream from marijuana and also from casinos, from gambling addiction, we need to make sure we're going to have places for people to go. We need to make sure everyone is audited and that money is we can speak good for where that public money is going. But we're doing a lot of good here, and I did put that in again. Let's see, the item 475, number 1S, may be a duplication because this was in Governor Northam's budget. So I just point that out to you. It's $50,000 for a recruiting program for the National Guard as part of their state tuition assistance program. So if that's a duplication, that's one that could be killed. I know you'll love to hear that. I think we're down to the end. Item 494, number 1S. This is video gaming terminals on SB 462. We'll see where this comes back. There are ways of doing this. We've seen other states who've implemented, if this bill were to pass, have done it for very little. And if they did have any, it would be seed money that could be recouped through license fees, et cetera. So I would expect that there's an avenue there. The last one, let me find my place in this. I was part of a commission that looked at charitable gaming over the summer. And I will tell you, we have some major problems in charitable gaming in Virginia. We're going to release, there's 6 pieces of legislation that are in very bipartisan way we put up to try to clean that up. There is expected to be a small physical impact on at least one of them for the enforcement portion. Hopefully we can get to a point where we can decide how we want to treat gaming and maybe put a percentage of revenue towards enforcement. The only reason I bring that up, in 2007, when this was a separate item and it was a portion of revenue, we had 31 enforcement agents. Now we have 5. And I think a lot of the wrongdoing is happening because there's just no enforcement in the field. And I personally am one of the believe that we need to put some harsh penalties for illegal gaming, felonies. We need loss of liquor license, some things that will get people's attention would have worked effectively in other states. So that one item, I will, again, continue to work with you on it once we get some sort of feedback on it. There's multiple ways of funding it, either through a stream of revenue or a budgetary item. I'm happy to answer any question you might have.
Thank you. Senator Favola.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have many budget amendments. All of them are very good, but I'll only highlight 5 or 6 of them. First one is language only, and it's item 313, number 4. We just want to make sure that any barriers that our Medicaid patients might be facing in accessing telehealth from out-of-state providers, we want to make sure those barriers are removed, and I think we can do that without spending any money. Then I want to go to item 142, State Council of Higher Education. What this is it's a transfer grant right now that would go to our community colleges, but it would allow individuals who want to continue in social work or psychology or some of the counseling tracks. So this is a way of helping our pipeline for counselors. So many students at the 2-year institutions really would like to go on to 4-year institutions. So we might as well encourage that in areas that we care about. This is a small item. It's item 301, and it's as you know, I've been carrying a bill on medical reciprocity agreements. That bill seems to be doing very well in its various committee hearings. We do need an FTE to make sure that the reciprocal agreements are worked on and we achieve the goal of the bill. Then I'd like to go to item 304. This is a big ticket item, but it's something that has come to me from a provider many times in our community. You may be familiar, Senator Howell, because you used to represent McLean, Jill's house. And they do wonderful work. They have a day program for individual youth who have developmental disability challenges, and they also provide respite care. But they really do want the federal matching program and Medicaid to come a lot closer to the true cost. So I think we said we'd like to increase the rates for 2 developmental disability waiver groups, the group day services by 25.62% and group supported employment services by 21.86%. So that, I know that's a big delta, but I think it's much needed. And this is really important. I really want to flag this. Please go to item 345. And this is our foster care bed availability. We have foster youth with many challenges, and sometimes we don't have families who can really take them in because of all their challenges. So we have no place to refer them to because many of our group home facilities will not accept them. The group home facilities are taking a large number of out-of-state youth because the reimbursement's higher. We are aware that they have beds available, but they're still saying no to our foster care youth. And we had a situation actually in the Northern Neck where a foster youth lived in the office of a child protective service worker, lived in that office for weeks. So we have to figure out, I don't know what kind of incentive or what kind of hammer we should be using, but I expect we're going to have to increase the reimbursement to these providers, but maybe we condition it on having, asking them to actually take our children when they have beds available. So that's really important. I wasn't sure if I should do an authorizing bill this year, but we're going to try this budget path and see what happens. And lastly, there are 2 items which you're very familiar with. Item 344, number 2S, and that is for an additional $650,000 for Virginia Sexual Assault and Domestic Violence Prevention Fund. We have made great headway in this space. We'd like to continue to work in the area, and I really want to thank your efforts, Senator Howell, for the many years you've been working on sexual assault prevention, and we appreciate that. And item 486, the last item I will discuss, item 486-19S, and this was, as you recall, last year we allocated ARPA funds, $7 million to help maintain our ongoing grants to organizations that are doing both intervention and support services for our survivors of domestic violence. We had to fill a gap. The federal government, actually, the federal dollars that flow to us are the result of court fees. There were lower court fees. The courts were closed because of COVID. We didn't have enough money in the federal pot, and the Virginia General Assembly actually graciously stepped up to the plate. But we are asking that we maintain some of that funding. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Favola, and I want to thank all the senators who presented. You've given us a lot to consider, and I want to thank the members of the committee for listening and for starting to prioritize. So with that, the committee will rise.